flick with me. Famous scenes with drama queens and heroes acted out there on the silver screen. Come grab a seat, the popcorn is on me.
Hello, welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. I'm Noel T. Manning II, and I'm not hanging out with Dora, but this guy, Thomas Manning, used to be able to do a pretty good, hi, I'm Dora. You used to do pretty well on that.
Yeah, I used to have the impression pretty good and down pat, but I think my voice has gotten a little bit deeper over the years. And my range, like the range of the high notes, I don't quite have it anymore.
Yeah, but so. you can sing like Taylor Swift. Well, you sing Taylor Swift like nobody else. Let's just leave it at that.
You were supposed to keep that one a secret, but yeah.
Well, Greg Tillman back there, Mission Control, appreciate you, man. This is Meet Me at the Movies. We do talk films and cinema and all sorts of stuff right here each week on C19TV. And if you're listening to the radio and the podcast through WGWG, we appreciate that as well. A lot to try to cover. We are at the end of summer, and which kind of ties into the non-viewer mail I received. Non-viewer mail came out from Fallston. It was Roland from Fallston, and he asked this question. Dear Meet Me at the Movies crew, do you think we're going to see a summer box office like we used to see anytime soon? Basically, the question is, when are we going to be able to see summer numbers in the billions worldwide again? I think it's going to be a while. We're not there. If you look at this year's numbers, we're not there. And I think it's going to be a long time before people are ready to go in masses in theaters without some kind of space. Even the critics are feeling the same way. You look at the box office numbers, Thomas, and these are domestic box office numbers for this year, for this summer. Black Widow was number one with about 182 million. Jungle Cruise, 106 million. This is like domestic, but for the whole summer, and it's the number 2 film. Free Guy at 94 million. Shang-Chi, 90 million after only, one weekend, basically an extended weekend at the box office, and then F9, the Fast Saga, at 84 million. So those are the box office numbers for the summer, which is not like what we're used to in years past. Last year, of course, was different as well. But any thoughts on that question as it relates to when are we going to see the box office numbers, especially in the summer? Blockbusters like we used to.
Well, obviously the Disney umbrella certainly has a lot of influence on what draws people out to the cinema these days, as you can see with that top 5. I was a bit surprised that the Suicide Squad kind of fell under the radar a little bit. I don't know of the domestic total, but I think it was obviously less than 80 million total, and worldwide probably less than 150 million, which was a bit disappointing. I was hoping we would see that one gain a little bit more traction. But definitely we see that the Marvel brand recognition continues to have a strong hold on the audiences around the United States and around the world, with Shang-Chi just overperforming this weekend, breaking all sorts of Labor Day records, and I think smashing projections.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's just huge win for huge win for theaters around the country as well, and audiences, just because they were talking about delaying so many fall releases because a lot of things had been underperforming as of late. But then you have Shang-Chi come in and pretty much save the fall release schedule, it's looking like.
Yeah, it did. And we're going to have other films that have been delayed. We've been talking about that for a few weeks. That some of those tent-pole films that they have to make the money back on, they're going to hold off on those until they're ready. There have been some great memes out there about Top Gun, and there's one that's awesome shot of an aged Tom Cruise on a motorcycle. Looks like he's about 112, and I think there's like a walker attached to his back, and it may be around that time before we get a chance to see that Top Gun sequel. We'll have to wait and see. Well, let's talk, and this is a preview. We're going to talk about fall releases pretty soon, but first a couple of movies we want to review, including one we teased last week called The Last Matinee. If you like horror films, if you like going to theater, to watch horror films, this may be something that you want to check out.
Well, it kind of might turn you off of the theatrical experience because, as we all know, sometimes the theatrical experience can be just really bad. It's just completely awful. And we even have, at the beginning of this film, a little bit of a tease. There's one man who's sitting in the audience. It's a pretty small matinee crowd, like a Saturday evening. There's maybe like half a dozen groups of people in there, all scattered throughout. And just one guy just can't stand all the chattering and talking going on. He's just trying to watch the movie, and then he just gets up and leaves. He's like, "All right, I've had enough. Can all of you guys please just shut up?" And but the funny thing is, that only scratches the surface of just how awful this theatrical experience becomes throughout the rest of the night. Because it turns out that there's a murderer in their midst who begins picking off each audience member one by one as they're, so it's basically a horror movie, but they're also sitting in this matinee theater watching a horror movie. So extremely meta, extremely self-aware, self-referential, and it's just funny that I heavily related to that guy who just couldn't take it anymore and left, and that was that was before the murderer even showed up.
So you would have survived.
Yeah, I think I would have survived. But this one definitely leans heavily into the B horror movie kind of like schlockiness, I guess you could say. The practical effects are way over the top, and they're so very well done. It's kind of gruesome and a little bit grotesque, but it kind of gives you everything that if you go into this movie expecting something along those lines, it kind of hits all the nail points for you.
Okay, so it's if you like horror movies, but with a twist, horror movies about horror movies. And this is one of those that finds a nice way to make that happen. Limited cast, sounds like it's all in one location.
Yeah.
And so talk about the production design for this, because if you're in a movie theater and it's dark most of the time, lighting, cinematography, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the way it's shot, it's very, very melodramatic with its slow motion and the lighting, the light streaming through the darkness, the way all that is constructed is really interesting. And as you mentioned, very small cast. They almost do small little short films with each subplot.
Interesting.
So they have different groups of people within the theater, and as the murderer is approaching them to kind of pick them off one by one, you kind of get a certain emotional connection to each of these characters.
A little backstory.
Because, you get a little bit of a backstory. You understand what is going on at that point in their lives, and the kind of 5 to 10 minute subplot that kind of develops what's going on with them, and before you have the mass murderer come in and just take care of this. Yeah.
And you've got an in-depth review of this, written review on Elements of Madness. People can check that out as well.
That's right.
What is your rating for the film called The Last Matinee?
For The Last Matinee, I'm going to give it a solid B+. And it's great for Halloween season coming up. So.
Okay, very cool. B+ for The Last Matinee. There is a new film released on Blu-ray. It was actually released this summer in limited theaters, called Till Death. That stars Megan Fox. And interesting film. It's Weekend at Bernie's meets Survivor meets Home Alone. It's not a comedy, but the elements of those kind of things, if you put those things together, you can figure out where this is going. There's this woman who's in this marriage that she doesn't want to be in. First 10, 15 minutes of this, you realize, almost think this is going to be a relationship drama about adultery and maybe some of the chaos that can happen because of that. 11th anniversary of this wedding between Megan Fox and her husband. He's wealthy. He's this attorney that's got all the money in the world and wants to take her out and treat her nice on the town. Ends up taking her to a lake house. The next morning, she wakes up, husband's beside her, she's handcuffed to him, and she's like, what's going on? And then he proceeds to pull the trigger, kill himself, while she's handcuffed to him. So that's where the Weekend at Bernie's thing comes along. She's having to figure out how to, get these handcuffs off, how to get away from what's happening. She's snowed in this lake house, and there's knocks at the door, and come to find out there's an assassin squad coming to kill her as well. So you throw all that together, and it really does become this suspense thriller. The first 10, 15 minutes, I was really hoping that it was going to get better, and it did. My wife and I both were watching this, my bride and I, Beth, and Megan Fox, no Oscar performance in the first 10 or 15 minutes for this. None at all. But I will say she kind of held her own when she was grunting, groaning, and trying to drag this dead body around this house and trying to find ways to remove the handcuffs. And this guy had it planned really well. Her husband had it planned really well. All the tools were taken out of the house. All the things were gone. So every time she would try to find something that could help her escape, it just didn't happen. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. The whole element of her, honestly, for most of the film, she was acting against herself. Having this, like I said, this dead body beside her. I was actually impressed with that. So the film definitely got better. There are some interesting twists that happen along the way as well. You get to learn more about her backstory, the backstory of the husband, and the backstory of those trying to kill her. Till Death, you can find that on Blu-ray right now. You expect with a Blu-ray to have some great commentary and some other things, but really all this had was a short 7 or 8 minute kind of documentary behind the scenes, but it focused more on the story. There were some prosthetics that I was intrigued with, and also I really wanted to know the behind the scenes of, okay, how, when she was doing these scenes of dragging this body, was she really dragging something? But they didn't go into that. So that was kind of a disappointment from the Blu-ray standpoint. But the story itself held up. C+ rating for me with Till Death. I didn't have high expectations for it, but it was worth my time. Any thoughts or questions?
Yeah, so Megan Fox, I remember she was kind of coming up through the industry in Transformers, and then after she was kind of dropped from that franchise, she might have had a little bit of trouble getting work, but it looks like she's getting some work again.
Yeah, she had Midnight in the Switchgrass that I reviewed just a few weeks ago, which wasn't a great film. I think with her, if you can find the acting that fits her specialty, she can do well in it. But she really showed no emotion in the first 10, 15 minutes. And that was really taking me out of it, but it definitely came back. So glad I got a chance to watch this and stick around for what was to come in the final. It was about a 90-minute film, so the final 75 or 80 minutes were worthwhile. Well, we are going to, after the break, we're going to come back and we're going to dive into fall releases. We're going to talk about some of our expectations for the fall box office and some things we're looking forward to as we dive into award season. That right after this quick intermission right here on Meet Me at the Movies.
Did you boogie with your baby in the back row of the movie show? And did you boogie there 'cause you had nowhere else that you could go? And when the lights went way down low, did you forget about the picture show? Yes, did you boogie with your baby in the back row of the movie show?
Cleveland Community College has identified strengthening online learning as the topic for its quality enhancement plan. We're calling it SOUL. SOUL's 5-year implementation plan is focused on continuous improvement of online courses and promoting student success. We're excited for you to take this journey with us.
Hello, welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies. I hope you enjoyed that amazing intermission right here on C19TV and WGWG. Noel T. Manning II here, Thomas Manning there, Greg Tillman back there on mission control with that beautiful scarf. He's getting ready for some Western as we talk about fall preview. That's right, the fall movie preview right here on C19TV. So what's one of those on your list, Thomas?
We're talking about Last Night in Soho from director Edgar Wright, who is one of my favorite filmmakers working today, and he's been, he's been working since like 2003 with Shaun of the Dead, and that was kind of a horror comedy, but here he is 18 years later with a true horror thriller. It's a kind of a sci-fi horror thriller. You got some time travel elements, you got some Freaky Friday body switch elements, you have Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know exactly the full context behind their characters, but it looks like they're playing kind of two sides of the same coin. And it's from the trailer shots, it looks like they're paying some homages to classic horror thrillers of the 60s and 70s. A lot of things that inspired Edgar Wright growing up. He's kind of going back to those roots and crafting almost like a dark love letter to the movies that inspired him. Just a lot of things about Last Night in Soho that I'm absolutely ecstatic to see, and it just premiered at the Venice Film Festival and gotten some rave reviews there. And this is set for late October release, right around my birthday. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, so many things about what you said about that film make me want to see it even more. And I remember seeing the trailer going, wow, there's something different about this. And getting very excited. You know, the past couple of weeks we have had a lot of these, a couple of major festivals where there have been some world premieres where we're starting to get that award buzz. One of those is a film called Belfast, and this is Kenneth Branagh's new film. It's a black and white film that stars Judi Dench and Jude Hill, newcomer Jude Hill as well. It's a coming-of-age drama that takes place in the 60s and looks at what's going on in Northern Ireland. Some of the other things I love about this and really making me want to see it even more is I love Van Morrison's early music, and Van Morrison has 8 songs that are going to be part of this soundtrack as well, and also a new song that he wrote specifically for this film. It did have a world premiere at a Telluride back just beginning of September, set for release November 12th, 2021. So looking forward to this. I've loved Branagh for so many years, his writing, his acting, his directing, and so looking forward to what he's going to do with this black and white film called Belfast.
So we're talking about Ridley Scott's The Last Duel. So Ridley Scott actually has 2 films coming out this award season, which is just an insane thing to think about for someone who's over 80 years old. But The Last Duel, here he is almost going back to that gladiator type swords and shields story with here you have in the cast, you have Matt Damon, you have Ben Affleck, you have Adam Driver, and then Jodie Comer, who we saw earlier this year in Free Guy. Absolutely loved her in that kind of a comedic role, but here she is in just a straight period drama. It looks like the sets, production design are just going to be just out of this world as far as their authenticity and detail goes. And anytime you have Ben Affleck and Damon together, it's going to be incredible. But also add Adam Driver to the mix.
Yeah.
Like he's one of my favorite actors. Since he burst on the scene a few years ago with The Force Awakens, and he's just continued to get so many more great roles and prove himself with each one, prove his versatility. And here he is back with Ridley Scott, as he's also going to be in another Ridley Scott film that we might talk about later on. But very much looking forward to The Last Duel.
Yeah, and talk about Adam Driver. I mean, you look at what else he's already done this year with the Amazon original Annette, and when that film had its world premiere a few months ago, there was like a 10-minute standing ovation for that particular film because it was so creative and so unique. So yeah, Adam Driver, definitely somebody who has burst on the scene and was able to prove immediately that he wasn't stuck in the stereotypical role of, you know, the son of Han Solo and Princess Leia. He was able to do more. He was more than Kylo Ren, and you know, we saw him was it last year, 2 years ago, The Marriage Story?
Yeah,
Kind of
Marriage
lost track
Story.
of the
Yeah.
of the years now with COVID, but man, he's so amazing.
Black Klansman, Logan,
Yes.
Logan Lucky.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
he's so amazing. He's so amazing. Well, somebody else that I don't think gets their due and is a great actor is Will Smith. He's done comedy, he's done action, he's done drama. I look at what he did with the Michael Mann film Ali, and also Pursuit of Happiness. Well, he's got a new film. It's a biopic called King Richard, and it follows the story of Venus and Serena Williams and their dad, who is training them to be more than anybody expected. And it follows that story, and there's already Oscar buzz for him and others in this cast as well. It did premiere also at the Telluride Film Festival. It will get a theatrical release on November 19th. Warner Brothers is releasing this. It will also get the HBO Max release at the same time. If you haven't seen the trailer for this, I recommend you checking it out. It's called King Richard, and from all I've seen, especially from some of the deep reviews, expect a few sweating eyeballs before this film wraps as well. King Richard to be released November 19th.
Awesome. And my next choice is Don't Look Up. So this is Adam McKay's newest film. It's coming to Netflix this winter, I believe. And anytime you have Adam McKay, you know there's going to be some social satire and some dramedy and a great cast. And this film, you have the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio, and you have Jonah Hill, you have Cate Blanchett, you have an entire cast of whole host of other great cast and characters from Hollywood that are just top of the game. And this is about this. Here's the synopsis. You have two low-level astronomers must go on a giant media tour to warn mankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth. And I have a feeling that there's definitely going to be some acting nominations to come out of this one. Maybe original screenplay. And I'm just very much, anytime you put Adam McKay's name next to something, I'm there with it.
I love talking award season, and you're right, Adam McKay has found a way to just create something that is artistically intriguing, but also something that can appeal to the quirky nature that people will want to see as well. And he can tell stories in ways that you never quite expect. That's what I love about Adam McKay. Another biopic, I'm kind of drawn to these biopics. Back in 2000, there was an award-winning documentary called The Eyes of Tammy Faye that looked at the life of Tammy Faye Baker and Jim Baker and kind of the fall from grace from the PTL network. Well, they've turned that documentary into a feature film starring Jessica Chastain and also Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield, that's Spider-Man, starring as Jim Baker. Really looking forward to what they're going to do with this. It's one of those that you could take this into the parody route, or you could take it into the dramatic route, and I think they're finding a way to balance the lines between both. And what you're seeing is these actors that are playing real-life characters, and for those of us who have seen these real-life characters on screen before, I think we're going to be amazed, especially by what Jessica Chastain can do. That film got its debut at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it is scheduled to be released September 17th by Searchlight Pictures. The Eyes of Tammy Faye, the name of that film.
Awesome. And I'll talk about Gucci, another Ridley Scott film. So this is kind of a high-class crime thriller drama. And it's about the Gucci empire, and there's some sort of kind of conspiracy, and there's maybe an assassination from what I understand. And this one also has Adam Driver, so Adam Driver's working with two Ridley Scott features this year. And also Lady Gaga is in this, coming off a few years ago, just her incredible performance in A Star Is Born. Here she is back again in the spotlight, or the Hollywood spotlight. She's always in the spotlight somehow or another. Adam Driver has completely disappeared into this. He almost looks like Austin Powers in a few of these shots. Also Jared Leto is in this, and completely disappears into this other incredible makeup. And this looks like it's going to definitely clean up some, and just going to be kind of a powerhouse this award season. And it's one of those that even just the trailer kind of like just overwhelmed me with its just like raw power, and I'm just very excited to see Gucci and see some good Ridley Scott cinema this award season.
Well, you were talking earlier about kind of production design, costumes, and hair. Wes Anderson has got a very distinctive style when you see his colors, his color palette, production design, cinematography. He's got a film opening on October 22nd called The French Dispatch. It's a tribute to old school journalism, and it's set in this French town. And it looks at the magazine culture of a magazine kind of like The New Yorker. Bill Murray is in this, Tilda Swinton, Timothy, what's his name?
Timothy Chalamet.
There you go. Jeffrey Wright, Frances McDormand, and Owen Wilson are all a part of this cast. And if you like Wes Anderson, you're probably going to enjoy the weirdness and the quirkiness of The French Dispatch.
Yeah. And last, Dune. It's kind of been heralded as the cinematic event of the past few years, and it seems like it could be the next step in like cinematic evolution, just with its in forms of pure technical filmmaking. And it had its premiere at Venice, and all the hype that had been building for so long seems like it delivered on that. And just the cast from top to bottom is absolutely stacked, and Denis Villeneuve behind the camera. Anytime he steps up to the plate, he always delivers. And we got Hans Zimmer as the composer for this. Christian Jessup, our good friend.
Yeah,
Christian Jessup
yeah.
is a massive fan of Hans Zimmer. And this just seems like it is built for the big screen, but it is going to be one of those day and date on HBO Max. So, how it fares the box office is still, that's still a question to be answered for another time. But I'm definitely going to be there, hopefully seeing this one in IMAX. And I am Dune. If it can just hit all those notes and check all those boxes that we kind of build up in our minds for it, I'm definitely on board.
And we do want to let you know it is part one.
Yeah.
There's a big gamble here with this
There
film. It is a part one, so understand that going in as well. Speaking of a gamble, when I heard that Kristen Stewart was cast as Princess Diana, I really didn't know where that was going to be going in the film called Spencer. But everything that's coming out of a recent festival saying that she may be getting some Oscar buzz is happening with her performance as Princess Diana in this kind of biographical psychological drama, much in the same way that we saw Jackie done a few years ago, and it's done by the same director. I'm intrigued. Sally Hawkins also stars in this film that will get a November 5th release date. Well, we don't have time to go into too many more. There's so many happening in the fall, but any two or three that you just want to mention that you're looking forward to without going into too many details?
Nightmare Alley, the Guillermo del Toro horror flick. Also Finch, which is Tom Hanks' film directed by Miguel Sapochnik, who's directed a few of the best episodes of Game of Thrones. And of course The Matrix, The Eternals, Bond 25, Spider-Man No Way Home, a few of those blockbusters that we're all equally
Absolutely.
awaiting.
And if you're a Clint Eastwood fan, you can check out Cry Macho as well. That'll be released a little bit later. That's been a movie that's been in the making since 1975. So when that comes out, I'll give you some more details and review that for you for sure. Movie quote of the week. This does come from Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. It's the art of confusion. The art of confusion, it works great on stupid people. So there you go. Share that with you right here on Meet Me at the Movies. We do appreciate you, as always, taking the time to be with us. However you choose to do that. You can send us an email at info@c19.tv. Greg Tillman, thank you for keeping things going, man. I really appreciate that. And Thomas Manning, thanks as always. I'm Noel T. Manning II, and for this week on Meet Me at the Movies, that is a wrap.
Many films to view until we meet again. Next time we see you, we'll gladly fill you in. We'll tell about the happy and the sad ones,